Cyclone Jude has made landfall in northeastern Mozambique as a Category 2 on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, a tropical cyclone on the Mateo France local cyclone scale, with winds of 100 miles per hour and a pressure of 971 millibars. The storm is going to weaken as it moves inland, moving west right now at 11 miles per hour, which is 18 kilometers per hour, and we are T-Coast code orange for the storm as it moves inland. Once again, 100 miles per hour, 160 kilometers per hour, and 1 minute sustained winds, pressure 971 on the millibars in terms of pressure. So this is where the storm is located right now. Coincidentally, it's located 3 nautical miles, 5 kilometers away from the island of Mozambique, Masiri, Cabaceira, which is the landfall location, and Lumbo. It's sort of located in a little bit of a bay, and all those cities are kind of surrounding the storm's central position right now. So all those cities are in the eye wall right now, as it appears that the storm is making landfall. Monzuel is just off towards the west, and will be the next town, probably entering the eye wall as I narrate this. Extremely dangerous hurricane force winds are ongoing to many inland locations right now. So as I said, winds of 100 miles per hour at landfall, mainly a southeastern sided wind field on 50 nautical miles on the southeastern side. We're unclear what watches or warnings are also in effect, by the way. Stay tuned to your local weather office in both Mozambique and Madagascar. Yes, the storm is going to go back towards Madagascar past days 4 and 5. So if you are in Madagascar, watch out for this storm and stay tuned to your local National Weather Service office for the latest statements on watches, warnings, and advisories. So the main threat right now with the storm is heavy rainfall, primarily. Up to 400 millimeters of rainfall is possible within the landfall region and slightly inland. These kind of rainfall totals can lead to very dangerous problems, resulting in flooding, rivers overflowing, landslides, and in these flooded areas can last for many days. And also, it's very important that you turn around, don't drown in flooded areas. Damaging winds, though. Gusts in excess of 150 miles per hour are likely taking place in the landfall area as June is making landfall. These winds will weaken a little bit as the storm comes inland, but these kind of winds, even as low as 40 miles per hour, which is low and tropical storm force winds, can cause severe damage and should be treated with caution regardless of how strong the winds are. So here is our latest forecast for the storm right now, moving westward, weakening as it pushes off towards the west here, with a gradual southeastward curve. It might weaken to a depression just a little bit as it moves over towards the ocean here again. We've kept that as a tropical storm just for continuity's sake. Now, does it make a hurricane-force landfall here in southwestern Mozambique, or Madagascar, I apologize? We'll have to wait and see on that. There's still a lot of time for the storm to, do its thing, and how strong will it be when it emerges off the coast? We don't know yet. JGWC sure thinks that it might be up to Category 1 strength. You can see at day 5, forecasting 70 miles per hour at the day 5 point. We think we've gone with a little bit lower, which is more in line with the models, which is here in just a minute. But all eyes right now are on northeastern Mozambique. Category 2 landfall on the cards right now, based upon satellite imagery, which we'll see here also in a few minutes, as to why the storm is 100 miles per hour at landfall. So satellite estimates, including AMSU and ADT, are horribly behind, only down in the tropical storm range. JGWC at 90 miles per hour for 18Z. We've gone with 100 miles per hour based on a little bit of a higher intensification rate based upon that. There isn't the chance that this was 105 miles per hour out of landfall. We'll have to see what reanalysis says. Hopefully this is some of its observations that might be able to help us out with that, though. So here is the GEFS model runs. You can see a very gradual turn off towards the southeast, up towards day 4 and day 5. You can see some of those model runs towards day 4 and day 5 do show some darker colors, which would mean a strengthening storm. But you can see that the storm isn't really going to linger over one place, thankfully. It's going to move very quickly off towards the southeast. Of course, you've got to deal with this flooding threat. As it makes that turn, it's going to slow down a little bit, of course. That's going to exacerbate flooding problems just a little bit, but thankfully the storm isn't going to linger around for too long in these inland areas. So hopefully the flooding threat will be as bad as we've seen with storms in the past. You think of storms like Kenneth back in 2019, which made a very powerful Category 4 landfall just north of where this storm did, and it sat over land after landfall for a few days and caused horrible flooding problems for these regions. So here is what the sea surface temperatures are looking like right now. 29, maybe even pushing 30, 31 degrees Celsius underneath this storm right now. More than favorable for intensification if it was to remain over water, but of course the storm is moving inland. Temperatures, though, for the Mozambique Channel further off towards the south, where the storm is going to emerge, do look a little bit favorable for intensification. But of course, at the further south that you go, those temperatures will decline, getting down towards 27, 26 degrees Celsius off the southern coast of Madagascar. Surface observations, unfortunately, aren't going to be too much help for this storm right now. We've got pressures of 1,008 millibars surrounding the storm, though, with temperatures what looks to be in the 20s, in the upper 20s in terms of Celsius. So clearly a very warm tropical climate down here, given that there is a tropical cyclone nearby. But we're not really seeing too much surface observations that would be useful for our analysis, for intensity analysis. Hopefully there's someone out there, or we can get a teacher somewhat for postseason analysis that might help us get a better idea of how from the storm will landfall. So here's what the models are saying right now. The pink line, which is the European model run, keeps the storm inland for a little bit longer than what the current forecast is calling for, which would lead to a worse flash flooding threat. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I do think that the current forecast today, it's sort of like a middle ground of what is going to happen. We'll have to wait and see, though. You know, these kind of things can change over the next few days. We'll have to wait and see. But you see towards day 3 and day 4 and day 5 on the intensity forecast plot here, unanimous agreement on intensification. Well, the question is how much? You know, you have the European, which only suggests a mid-tropical storm at most towards day 3, day 4, and day 5, and the HWR suggesting a Category 1. So anywhere within that region of possibility is possible. Wind shear is going to be a little bit of a problem. It's at 10-15 knots at the moment. It's going to be mainly a wave kind of pattern over the next few days, with past day 4 and day 5 as it gets down towards the post-tropics down here. Wind shear is going to rise, but once it gets towards down there, that post-tropical transition should be well underway. Relative humidity and temperatures, of course, are going to be favorable for intensification, regardless of what happens. So I do think that we'll see another intensification phase for this storm. For how strong will it get? We'll have to wait and see. So having a look at the satellite imagery of the storm, here is some visible imagery just before sunset on the storm. You can see it was doing fairly good. Overall, a very healthy storm looking at it across the board. I'm sure that if Mozambique entirely wasn't there, then this storm would have probably easily been a Category 4 by now. But thankfully, this land mass is in the way, thankfully, for this storm to not, take advantage of these kind of conditions for too long. There's been storms that have had a lot longer time over this in this region that have done a lot better than this. Gombe a few years back was a Category 3 making landfall, similar location to this. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, we had Cyclone Kenneth just to the north. That was a much stronger storm than this. Of course, we're not really going to be seeing anywhere near of a flooding threat to Kenneth's level, but it is going to be a substantial one that does warrant, some attention. Here's an infrared look at the storm, and you can see it's got cold cloud tops clearly venting all that energy off towards the west into the north. So the storm is healthy as it comes in here. Although just running out of time, unfortunately, for the storm in this case, but fortunately, this is good news for us that the storm intensification phase has come to a close, and the weakening phase will not begin as the storm moves inland. The threat, though, does not stop at the coastline for this storm. Heavy rainfall, damaging winds will persist inland to many inland locations, and residents inland are urged to prepare for this storm as it is coming over the next few hours. We'll have further updates on this storm as it pushes off towards Mozambique over the next few days.